The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Had you told the constructors and designers of Hendricks Army Airfield in 1941 that the runways they built would still be in use over 75 years later, they probably would have been proud. But I'm not sure they ever would have expected it to be known and revered as it is today. From a series of runways meant to train World War II bombers, a sports car track was eventually born and built up. Time, tradition, and a fervor for racing has turned it in one of the most legendary tracks in America. But time has not been kind to those runways. Will their aged, rough, and unforgiving character turn cars into wreckage or drivers into heroes? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group's Sports Car Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Sean Crackers Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Sebring is seen as a real test of grit and endurance, not just for drivers and teams, but for their machines. What makes this such a tough track?
Well, Joe, this Florida track's first race was a 6-hour enduro on a makeshift course marked with hay bales. It happened on the last day of 1950. Sebring International Raceway is a classic American circuit and host to the 12 hours of Sebring Endurance Race. This 3.7-mile road course with 17 official turns actually runs in a clockwise direction. Now, winners here have ranged from Fangio to Foyt to Fittipaldi to Gurney to Gregg, Moss to McLaren to McNish. Just about every post-World War II racer of note has won here. In 83, 87, 91, and 99, Sebring's owners repaved large portions of this track and revised the layout. As a result, the current lap length is down to 3.7 miles, but about 9/10 of a mile of the original coarse concrete and rough transitions still remain on this track. Get an idea of what it's really like to get around the cathedral of American motorsports. Let's hop on board the GSRC Z4 GT3.
All right, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Sebring. Coming down the front stretch, turn 1 is a wake-up call right away. Very fast and bumpy, plus the inside wall makes it blind. With the way the track narrows on exit, it makes hitting your marks very difficult. From there, you're going to hold right to set up the car for turn 3. It's possible to sneak passes in here from time to time, so keep your head up. It's a late apex on this corner so that you can set up for 4 and 5. Once again, another late apex on 5, and it's going to be very important to get your car lined up and settled. Because once you're on the power, you shouldn't have to lift all the way around Big Bend until you finally hit the braking for the hairpin. This is probably your best place to attempt to pass around the circuit. It's a straight shot, and it's a long braking zone to give you a chance to slip past your opponent. Just watch out on the exit because of the way the track weaves. It can be easy to put a tire in the dirt and lose traction. From there, it's a matter of straightening out 8 and 9, but ultimately, you'll bring the car to the left to line up Cunningham. This is another spot where overtakes are likely to take place, but once again, the exit can be the trickiest bit to master with how narrow and bumpy Collier is. And worse, it also leads into the curved braking zone for Tower. It's not uncommon to see drivers slip a bit wide and lose it on entry here. At the apex, watch out for the tall curb on the inside, which can also unsettle the car. From there, it's going to be another long acceleration zone as we fly through the double apexer of Bishop. The key to this turn is setting yourself up for 15, which even though it has lots of paved runoff, it can cost you gobs of time if you lose it here. From there, hold left to give yourself the best entry into Le Mans. This dumps you onto the Ullman Straight, so failing to carry your speed is going to make you a sitting duck down into Sunset. Guys behind you with a run will be able to suck up into your draft and put you in the unenviable position of playing chicken into this frightening final corner. Trying to go too wide is putting your car at risk. You've got this scary fast kink just as you're braking, and then come the bumps. The car is going to be bouncing all over, and then on top of it, you got to line up your exit just right and dare to put the power down. If you manage to survive that, you finished a lap around Sebring. Hopefully the guy didn't make you too nauseous from all the bumps that you have to go over around this track, but a guy that is always in control and never sickened by his way around here is Bill Zahn, who's going to lead us around the Points Championship as well.
Got a lot to talk about, so let's go. With Daytona and Mosport in the book, the series comes back south to Florida for Sebring. Let's take a look at the prototypes here. Coming off a win last time in Canada, no surprise to see Talon Motorsports' Robert Tinsey out in front. The real surprise is Mark Schindel in second. The TMC Carbon driver is 2 for 2 in podium finishes. Autobahn West, John Ulmer's best results so far came after getting together with Daniel Graldi at Mosport. The Big Cheese fought back to get a third. Carter Kundinger has yet to podium, a fourth the last time out is his best finish. The AOD Racing driver is his top score was that fourth. Still looking for a top 5 is Rainier Racing's team. Steve Jones. A couple big names that you won't see up there is the aforementioned Gralti. How about Brazil's Laura Costa and also Cy Andrew, who sits at the top of our qualifying right now. To the GTLM group, where Paul Darling gave away the win last time out. Now, those are his words, not mine. As everybody knows, I love all the drivers equally. Nevertheless, Oh My has a 3 points lead over Autobahn West Billy Smith III. Smith finally found his way back to the winner's circle last time. John Paquin got the win in the Daytona opener. Illness forced the P1 Racing star to sadly retire early last round. Drop race insurance will help the Pac-Man once those calculations are thrown in. Blackadder Motorsports has slithered its way into another GSRC covered series. John King coiled up in 4th position. Getting off to a slow start has been defending champion Stephen McGarvey for TMC Carbon. And perhaps the biggest name missing from this chart is AOD Racing's Jeffrey the Mantra Ohms. Onward to the GTD class. The first and the second has Rainier Racing teams Bradley Haley comfortably in the lead. Now, for his entire history in the series, Sheldon Rosenbaum has raced in a beautifully festooned, solid fluorescent blue race car. To the dismay of all disrespectfully challenged everywhere, the Autobahn East driver forwent his traditional livery for something less unique. What's the results? He gets his first win and sits second in the standings. Another Blackadder Serpent shows up in the form of Brandon Gracia, and a 6th and an 8th has TMC Racing's Ross Booth in 4th. Privateer Paul Lindsay rounds out the overlay that is suspiciously missing names like Benjamin Hackison. Look for that privateer to show up soon. Now we go to the team championship, and in the wake of Billy Smith's GTLM win, Autobahn West moves to the top, pushing Rainier Racing down into second. Blackadder lurks in third, looking to strike, only 3 points out of second place. Scott McGarvey was expected to lead the way for TMC Carbon, but so far it has all been Mark Schindele's work in the prototype. That is the major factor for that team's success. The more ecological friendly of the TMC family, the carbon-free TMC Racing, sits in fifth, Ross Booth being the only driver to make a top 5 graphic. Okay, my goodness, that was a lot of soup. Let's give it back to Joe before we go green.
All right. Bill's on GSRC's answer to Robin Miller. But let's take a look at the race details for anybody who has not watched the Autobahn series before. This is round 3 that we're in, 14-round season that we're in. A very long race season for this series. Going to be an intense one, and a 90-minute race, a long race as well today. One of their endurance rounds, as they call them. The shorter races are only 60 minutes. Now, they do expect tires today. It is very hot out there, and of course, they have 2 pit stops that will be happening during the race. With this being a 90-minute race, their fuel is limited compared to what the cars can usually run, and of course, that forces them into that 2-stop strategy. Now, they do also have a fast repair if they damage their car, and they can get back into it, and that has come in handy to offer drivers a podium and sometimes a chance at a win, even if they run into trouble. And speaking of trouble, Sean, there's going to be some places around here that I anticipate will be giving drivers trouble.
Man, I hope you don't mind it. I take this to lead off with that. But the first thing that's going to be trouble is this track is bumpy as hell, man. Really is. And thanks for putting that into the script, Joe. Passing zones here. Yeah, you know what? Passing zones, there's plenty of them, okay? Compared to some circuits, this track actually has quite a few. Turn 1 being one of them. The race down into turn 1, always fun. Side by side, you can go 3, 4, 5 wide down into turn 1. Everybody seems to take a different line. Your next opportunity comes up at turn 3, screaming down into there. That's a hard braking zone, a left-hander there. You got to be careful. Get out of Big Bend and down to the hairpin. That's always a drag race down there. You got plenty of runoff out there should you mess that turn up, but look for some overtaking going down into turn 3, going back down to the hairpin. Cunningham, definitely a great spot for an overtake. The Ullman Straight, once you get down there, on the very, very backside of the course and down into Sunset, you'll see a lot of overtaking, a lot of draft, a lot of slingshotting going on. You'll think you're at Talladega for a moment going down that straight there. Now, listen, danger zones, well, some of the same places where we're going to be fighting for positions. Turn 1, Collier, Tower. Got to watch out for Tower. Tower seems to, that right-hander seems to catch a lot of people out. You've got to be careful how you manage that. Gendebine, another one, kind of like Tower. That's an easy one to get caught out on, and you have to. That's a tricky proposition because you got to get to the right-hander and then get into the left-hander. That kind of a kink there in the Lamar to set that car back up to hit the Ullman Straight just right. So, where can you finally find the worst amount of trouble? Well, it's Sunset. Let's face it, Joe. If you don't get things right coming down the Ullman Straight into Sunset, if you don't get that turn in just right, you're going to run all the way off to the left and hit the wall, or you're going to run off to the right and clip the wall. So it's generally going to happen in front of traffic, and that's not a good thing. That can be a huge collection point down there in Sunset.
Bill, you talked a little bit about how things have shaped up based on the last race, because that had a big effect on the points. And that race really was one of quite a few surprises, one of which Billy Smith finally returning to the top step of the podium, and of course over Darling, who made an uncharacteristic mistake.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to watch that race, when you get a chance to go back and see it, we had cars spinning out of the lead left and right. We probably had, I think in each class, we had at least one car spin while leading and cost them the lead, if not a couple. Yeah, that has really shaken things up a little bit. One of the drivers that was victim of that, who was really fast, is right now sitting on the pole in the prototypes. That's Cy Andra. He's going to be really fast. If you want a combination, go back to my Robin Miller, channel him a little bit. How about Cy Andra and John Ulmer sitting 1-2? Two drivers who are notoriously quick and notoriously seem to find trouble.
Yeah, and they've got Tinsley behind them ready to pick up the pieces starting from that second row. We'll be hoping that he doesn't get caught up in whatever trouble might occur between them. Now, these GTD cars, which are GT3 cars on iRacing, Sean, there's been a significant update this morning. So talk to us a little bit about that, because that is a story.
Yeah. Well, there's a new tire model, and so far, not a lot of the drivers very thrilled about this, Joe. Let me cover those details for you real quick. Now, what they've done to the Audi, the Z4, the Ferrari GT3, the Ford GT3, and the Mercedes. Basically, what they've done is they've updated those tires to replicate the degradation characteristics of the tires that Pirelli has used for this 2017 Blancpain series. They say they should feel more responsive with higher corner stiffness and less rolling heat and an increased wear rate. Well, so far, I don't know if that's what they're feeling out there. This track and temperature combination is really hurting the effort here so far. It's 106 degrees on track, Joe, and I don't think anybody was quite ready for this. I don't know if everybody was tapped in and knew this was coming. So a lot of drivers feeling really caught out by this right now.
And Sean, just to follow up on those tires, it's not just the tires. I was listening to what a lot of the drivers are saying, and it affects their setups, where they start trying to adjust for the tires with setups, and they start getting to that with not a lot of practice time underneath you. Let's cross our fingers. Yeah,
it's definitely cross your fingers and have a lot of hope. One driver said that the Porsche Cup is probably faster than the Ferrari now, so I don't know. We'll see if that's actually the case, although we'll get a chance to see it here, but maybe another race down the road. We'll see.
I think that same driver was comparing these Ferraris to Reliant Robins now. So that gives you an idea of what they're feeling out there as we ride on board with Leif Peterson and Last Chance Qualifying. If you're wondering what the Last Chance Qualifying is, well, the drivers each get their own class has their own qualifying. Of course, the prototypes themselves, the GTLM are by themselves, and the GTDs all run by themselves. And then the Last Chance Qualifier is for any driver who is not able to make it for whatever reason, but they cannot get out on track unless they haven't put a wheel out on track at all during the other official qualifying for their class. Now, the trade-off for that is this is mixed class qualifying here for the Last Chance, so sometimes you can have your lap interrupted. So we ride on board with Simonic, who puts a lap in. Good to see him back. However, he's all the way down in 6th, and currently the driver who seems to have taken over his role as someone who can kind of use his mid-pack speed to really get results is Daniel Gralti this season.
Yeah, Gralti, and also Carter Kundinger in that kind of class, too. It'll be fun to watch Gralti, Kundinger, and Simonic, see how they play out.
I believe, let's see, how many drivers do we have out there right now? Because wondering if we should call the grid at this point. We've got a fair few, but we do have the pace laps. So I'm going to let these drivers finish out their hot laps because it looks like things could shuffle around yet still here in this last hot lap, even though the checkered flag is out. And it's certainly, we were talking about those tires before. If there's one track you did not want the tires to really throw you for a loop, I would think it would be this one with the bumps and just the way you need a stable car to be fast around here.
Big name driver that didn't put in a qualifying time, Jason Girard down there. He was here for practice, was fairly quick, but didn't get a qualifying in, maybe not going to race with us.
Girard had an interesting story in the lead-up. Apparently he was having all kinds of computer troubles in which he had to reinstall Windows or something to that effect, it sounded like. So
sounded like he was confident that he got it all done, but I know how that is.
Yep. That did not help his time in trying to practice leading up to this. Disappointing since he's been giving such a good run in that GTD class, trying to battle with guys like Bradley Haley up there. Well, let's see, we've got Leif Peterson coming around. Looks like just finishing up his lap. I think he's coming out of Tower here into Jean Dambienne. And this has been such an interesting season between these drivers. We talked so much at the start of this, Bill, about how the change of the cars and the change of the people switching classes, new drivers coming in, was really going to mix things up. And it, to an extent, I believe it has, but in not the ways that I think we really expected it to.
Early days yet, I think things will settle down. What's interesting is, Joe, there's always been a 5-car series. Now I believe we are a 6-car series, right?
We are indeed, yes. We've got 3 in the GTD, we've got 2 in the GTLM, and as always, 1 in the prototype. And one thing that I was thinking about earlier today that is interesting as well, the prototype is now the oldest car on iRacing in this field. So there's a little stat for you.
How's that fair?
All right, let's go through the starting grid. Up on the pole, we mentioned it earlier, Cy Andra is going to start there. He didn't have the greatest first go in this series in his rookie season. Let's see if he can make up for that. Maybe come home with a win today. John Ulmer is going to try to stop him as he wants that crown back, and badly. He's been fighting for many seasons now to reclaim that. Robert Tinsey is going to be starting in third on row 2. Next to him, we mentioned him, Daniel Gralty will be in fourth. Alex Simonik, he moved himself up to fifth in that last chance qualifying. He toppled Carter Kundinger, who's going to be starting in sixth behind him. Mark Wilson will be in seventh, and then P8, it's Mark Schindel. Let's see if he can climb up the field once again. Lionel Duprat starts in ninth, and the top 10 is rounded out by Steve Jones. Mark Kudrowski will be in 11th, and then Chris Pence will start in 12th. Bill?
My goodness, any one of these classes would merit a 60-minute race all to theirself, and we have 3 classes here today. Let's go ahead and sharp with those GT LM cars, and it's Jeffrey Ohms, remember, not on the top 5 overlay. Look for him to have a good event here. Here's your point leader, Billy Smith. It's going to be next to him. John Paquin looking to rebound after having to leave early. He sits third, but surprising a little bit slower than we would expect. Leif Peterson in a Ferrari as well. 4 Ferraris sit up front. Then we get to our first Ford, Ryan Huff, Jimbo Pfeiffer, Carlos Villa, and John King, all in Ferraris. Then a bunch of Fords behind them. Dave King, Brandon Postma, Robert Jackman, and Marty Jeffries. 2 more Ferraris down there before we get to Sean's group, Dale Green and Miguel Meyer. Sean?
All right, and it's going to be our points leader, Bradley Haley, going to start up front in his Mercedes, and right next to him going to be Dennis Savratic. There it starts in second. Scott McGarvey, he will follow there in third. Beck Duggleby in his Mercedes, going to be starting fourth today. And in fifth, it's going to be Brian Bennett. Sixth goes to Kevin Santana. Ross Booth going to start seventh today. Sheldon Rosenbaum, the Texas man, going to start there in 8th. Dino Topic is starting 9th today. Sheldon Woloshin there in 10th. Now, Brandon Garcia is starting in 11th. Matt Owens, 12th. Let's see. Robert Sklenka in 13th. Christopher Sherburne, 14th. Tim McLeish, 15th. David Tejada, 16th. 17th, Jeff Hooper. And completing the 18-car GTD field, Jason Gerard, the man from New York, starting there.
And did Gerard actually start this race?
I don't see him out there yet.
I'm looking, I don't see him there yet.
See, he didn't qualify, so he might not get on track, but I don't even see him in the pits.
No, it looks like he's a DNS for this race, which is sad to see. He always puts on such good shows out there with whoever he's racing against.
How about Brian Bennett in that what's he racing? An Audi? Looks like he's going to see a Mercedes there.
Absolutely. Bennett didn't have the cleanest of races last time, unfortunately, but very few drivers had clean races last time, so he's really not in short supply of company at all as we watch our DTLM drivers head towards the hairpin, which I found out an interesting fact that I didn't know about this. Apparently they had changed that hairpin in recent times within the last couple decades so that it was closer. Apparently it was much farther up towards that wall that the escape road leads to. When they changed it, they renamed it the safety pin. I haven't heard that name, but I'd like to bring that name back.
I like that.
We can start tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to call it the safety pin.
Hey, and I can confirm Brian Bennett is the only Audi in the field. It's down to a split of Mercs and
Ferraris.
Mercs and Ferraris, yeah.
The Mercs seem to be the car of choice. Ferrari's struggling for pace.
Well, we've got half a lap to go through it, so the traditional question comes out. Bill, who's your picks?
Cy won't get there. Ulmer will find trouble. Tinsey is fast. Oh, man, I got to take Tinsey. Let's go down to my other group there. Jeffrey Ooms has had a rough season so far. He's on the pole. I hate that we go chalk, but I think Ooms can go wire to wire for that, guys. Sean, who do you like down there in the GTDs?
Ooh, boy, that's a tough one for me. Bradley Haley starting in the safe spot. But can he carry that throughout the length of the race? I don't know. It's going to be a good fight between him and Dennis Savratic. Give me Bradley Haley. He's the points leader. He's the man to beat right now. He's the man until somebody beats the man.
Just off the top of my head, looks like defending champion in the GTLM class, although this really wasn't his class last season, but we'll call him the defending champion. Looks like Stephen McGarvey not here today, so we missed you, Stephen. Hope you're watching. His brother's here.
A little bit disappointing, yeah. But Haley, unfortunately, it looked like he was going to go 2 for 2 last round until the very last minute of the race. So that probably is going to be a safe bet for him to be a contender in this one as well. I'm sure he's hungry after getting beaten by Costa to the championship last season. As the roof pace car comes around Sunset Bend, it is Cy Andra who is going to lead the pack and take control before the drop of the green. Pace car peels in. Green flag comes out. And Andra does not get that much of a jump on Ulmer, who's going to stay around the outside here. Let's see if he can be brave coming down into the bumpy turn 1. Breaks a little bit early, lets Andra have it. Bit of 3 wide, I think, made some contact in the mid-pack as drivers try to sort themselves out. Let's go to GTLM.
And they're just going to the start-finish line now, and finally getting a jump out there is Jeffrey Ooms. He's going to leave Billy Smith behind. They're going to file in nicely as they head towards this left-hander. That is corner number 1. Little battle back there for third. Paquin's going to get best position. Peterson and Huff round out your top 5. Sean, are they there yet?
Yeah, they are there, and they're gone. And it's Bradley Haley with a big jump on the field. He leaves Sveretic and McGarvey in the dust as they head through turn 1. Oh, and we got a couple of cars off, back just behind, several cars off, actually. We'll keep going here and moving forward. And front of the field's already gone line of stern, but that was a big stack up there.
That was Ross Booth and Sheldon Rosenbaum, last week's winner, 2 weeks ago, rather, I should say. Let's look at the replay. It looked like, I think, one of the drivers...
Topich was third in line, got into the back of Rosenbaum.
It's an almost 3-wide situation, it looks like, and unfortunately did not play out well. You can see there from the replay, just kind of like a domino effect, overlapping barely each of them. Watch on board Rosenbaum to see what his perspective was like. I think he was the second of the 3. So he gets tipped and turns around completely.
See, I think Dino didn't see him because the car wasn't painted in that fluorescent blue. I think he's the lone worst enemy there.
Oh, and I think Sheldon is damaged. He's moving very slow on track as Booth has already overtaken him. But we've switched back up to Cervetic in second. This battle for the GTLM lead, or GTD lead, rather. He's dropped back about a second from Haley for now. Behind them, it gets a little bit tighter with McGarvey bringing up third. And then Duggleby and Bennett in a close fight there for fourth. Up in the prototypes, things are spreading out about half a second each. There was a close fight between Wilson and Kundinger for 6, but unfortunately Wilson was not able to capitalize as they started to spread out through 3, 4, and 5.
Right on. Looking at, well, Mark Wilson, I guess there we have it locked in as we're having coming at you. There we go.
They work their way through 8 and 9 now to Cunningham. Kundinger gets himself well clear of Wilson. However, Ulmer is starting to climb over the back of side Andra. He's closed that half-second gap down. It was 3/10, and it's now back to 3/10 once again. Right on board with our leader now.
The 4-car train. Simonik able to hang in there on the tail of Kinsey as well.
The story of last season, Bill, that we talked about quite often was, is Simonik ever going to get the chance at a win? He's up against much faster drivers, but he was always there or thereabouts when trouble happened.
Yeah, and with Gerard leaving, he thought he'd maybe have an opportunity. Then who shows up is Cy Andra here. Look at Ulmer with a run. I think he's going to get him.
He sticks his nose in. Andra gives him room. Coming into Sunset, they're side by side, slowing each other up just a little bit. But Andra is carrying the speed around the outside. A beautiful move, and keeps himself well within defense and ahead by a nose as they cross the line and come down to turn 1. But look at that low downforce on John Ulmer, giving him the top speed, keeping him in the hunt, but he just can't do it through the corners.
Oh, he's not done yet, though. We got to stay on this battle till they get it sorted out.
Finally falls back now that they're into a technical twisty section. I think we're going to see this all day long. Ulmer picking a little bit of an opposite approach of everybody else, Bill. We heard from one of the drivers saying that Ulmer's the only one running low downforce, everybody else on medium, and has he got another run?
You can see it right here as he is so fast, but the problem is, once he gets there, what can he do with it when he has to actually start to wheel the car around?
Ooh. He squirmed under power trying to get the accelerator to go down. And look at this, Tinsley now starting to bring himself into it. Are we going to see 3 wide for the lead? No, Tinsley hangs back, better braking. Oh, and he outbrakes himself. Andra goes wide into the grass, losing multiple positions, hands it over to Ulmer finally.
Falls down into, what would that be, I guess, 5th position as he falls behind Gralty and Simonic.
Tinsley has not given up on things. He is holding on to the back of Ulmer. And of course, as you mentioned, Simonic is in here now as they're catching the GTDs already.
Now, last time out at Mosport, it was a shorter lap, and lap traffic was a big issue. I don't think that's going to be the case here as much here at Sebring. The driver should have a little easier time getting around, guys.
Yeah, I agree with that, Soup. It'll also take them a little bit longer, or a lot longer to catch him. But maybe by the time they get to him, because they've got a little bit more time, they get a chance to spread out a little bit and, like you said, make it easier to pass.
Meanwhile, we haven't looked in on the GTLM in quite a while. Up at the front of them, it is still Ooms leading, and he's starting to gap Billy Smith, last round's winner, who's got Paquin well behind him.
Those guys are nice, but the guy on the move, let's drop back to the guy racing in 4th, 16th overall, and that would be Ryan Huff. He's done a good job of getting around Peterson as he's moved up a couple positions.
You can see that Ford GT heading down the straight now, working his way towards Sunset Bend, and just a line of cars, a train of cars, all flying towards this bumpy, long right-hander. We're going to ride on board with Huff as he goes through, looking back at Peterson.
6 Ferraris on the top 7. Huff the only one sandwiched with 3 on top, 3 on the bottom as he races in his Ford in 4th.
They come down towards turn 1, just ahead of him. Paquin is really keeping Billy Smith in check here. Now, last round, he was leading for most of the way, if I recall. Unfortunately, traffic caused him problems, but this time, he's still got a little bit more race, so maybe a little bit less urgency to have problems with traffic. He continues to stalk Billy Smith, coming around Big Bend, down to one of the best passing zones, into the safety pin.
Ooms was at that Motorsport race as well, and he also had issues, as did Paul Darling.
Who didn't have issues in that race? That's more the question. Ooh, bit of a bad exit for Carlos Villa coming out of the safety pin, and Jimbo Pfeiffer is pretty close to his tail now. They break down for Cunningham. Pfeiffer not close enough to try and capitalize on that green Ferrari. Meanwhile, if we want to find a battle up in the prototypes, Carter Kundinger has closed in on Schindel. And actually, I take that back. Did Schindel pass Kundinger in recent times here? I think that was reversed when we last saw.
No, Schindel's been out in front. At least he led that lap. But and he qualified, though. Schindel qualified back in 8th, so he's made up a couple spots. He's got around Kundinger and Mark Wilson. Remember, Schindel's the winner coming out of Canada. This shows you the depth of talent here as he's struggling right now as he races in 6th.
Well, we should clarify, Schindel was 2nd place coming out of Canada. But, yeah, this is...
that's right. Sorry.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic season for him, just using that steady and smooth and clean racing to get himself results. It seems to be paying off once again. However, he did have a little bit of contact, I think I saw, after the 2nd lap, when Andra was trying to recover from his mistake, and that was out of Le Mans corner. Meanwhile, sounds like we got a battle in 4th, Sean, over in GTD.
Yeah, we do. It's actually the battle's in 3rd. Beck Duggleby right now being threatened here from Scott McGarvey and Brian Bennett. Here they go across start-finish line down into turn 1. Let's see what kind of line there McGarvey and Bennett take here behind him. Basically going to follow here. Maybe we can make something work out here when they get out of turn 5 and into Big Bend. We could see a battle down here in the safety pin, Jeff.
Don't need to go there, but David Tejeda just had a spin. It looked like it was in Sunset.
Yeah, I think that we should probably stick with this battle. Doug will be gapping himself a little bit over McGarvey, looking very strong through the technical sections. As they come down to the safety pin, hitting the brakes, blowing the car up, and you can see they accordion together. In fact, Dougleby looked a little bit off course, really pushing, getting 2 tires into the dirt out of turn 1, trying to find speed anywhere he can. It's Bennett who seemed to have the different line through that first corner, braking very late into there. Now as they come through Cunningham, nobody really able to make any inroads on one another. And I just have to say, as Beck is one of the newer drivers in this series, that is one of my favorite names right now in this series. Beck Dougleby. That is a fantastic name.
It certainly doesn't sound like a Texas name, to be honest with you.
Sounds very British to me.
It does. And you know what? Maybe we need to find out some info about Beck. Maybe he is, in fact, not from Texas. So we'll have to check into that here. Having a great drive here, though, to get started. You know, Dennis Savetek right up in front of him there. He's not letting Bradley get away. He's keeping it close here. He's keeping Bradley honest right now, Joe.
Yeah, Savetek, another of the rookies in this series, trying to make a splash of his own. Hasn't been able to so far, but he is looking good today, here only about 10 minutes into this race. Curious, actually, where is Savetek in the points currently? Looks like he is 11th in the GTDs. So as this battle continues, as not really much of a battle, more of a pressure cooker, with Dennis mostly just, as you said, keeping that leader in check in the GTDs. Let's flash back up to the prototype, since we haven't looked at them in a while, and see how our leader is doing, dealing with more of the traffic.
Just got around Salonic there, and Ross Booth. Tinsey gets by as well. Now Ulmer coming up on the back of Christopher Sherburne and Matt Owens.
Yeah, and, well, here we go. HPD traffic catching the GTDs now.
Ulmer trying to do everything he can to try to put some distance between himself and Tinsey, who has been his main rival in this championship for the past, 4 seasons now? So far, has not been able to beat him over the course of a season. But he's looking like he's got a handle on traffic today, as he is putting a gap on Tinsey, about 1.5 seconds through those last set of cars. But now he gets caught up a little bit with Woloshin ahead of him, coming through Collier. Tries to squeeze around the outside. That costs him a little bit of time, but he's going to get a short breather. Oh, a decisive move to the inside from Tinsey. Gains him a lot of time, goes a little wide coming out of Tower, though, and that hands that time right back.
Yeah, it made it very exciting for Sheldon Woloshin as he got by.
Now, just based on the nicknames, one named Big Cheese, the other one named Bob the Blade. You think about the cheese sliding off the pizza here, and then Bob the Blade slicing his way through traffic. Just going on nicknames alone, and remember, I love all the drivers equally, you would have to think that Bob the Blade probably has an advantage here.
Thought you were going to make some sort of joke about cutting the cheese there.
No, I wouldn't do that.
Hey, does B-Rad count as a cool nickname? Bradley Haley?
That works.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's his nickname, B-Rad. So.
All right. I've been calling him Haley's Comet, but I like B-Rad as well.
Well, I cheated. He's got it on the wing, so.
Ulmer got held up a little bit by Brandon Guaracia, and now Tinsey is right on his tail as they come down to turn 3. That 1.5 second gap disappeared just like that in less than a lap. It is now half a second. And this is 3.3 ahead of Simonic. Ondra has not been able to make much inroads himself. He's still 6 seconds behind these two leaders.
So we look at Tinsey. You can see Simonic back by about 3.5 seconds back, but he's in a pretty good battle. Maybe we can drop back to Simonic real quick before we leave this class. Gralty is starting to give him a little bit of pressure as they start to work through traffic. They got Gracia to get around.
Was there an incident with Mark Kudrowski? I'm seeing him stationary in the pits right now, and it's way too early for a scheduled stop. as we watch these prototype leaders. Meanwhile, Ooms in the GTLM is continuing to pull away from Billy Smith. That gap between them now 3.5 seconds.
And again, we don't need to go there, but I can just report that Ross Booth had a little bit of an incident with Steve Jones, and Booth got turned around.
Compared to 2 weeks ago, this is rather pedestrian.
Oh, yeah, piece of cake.
Not short of action, though. A lot of great battles happening between many of our top drivers in each of the classes. Although much like the GTLMs, I'm looking at the GTDs, and Haley has gapped ahead of Dennis about 2 seconds.
Yeah, he started to open it up just a bit. Now we've got more traffic coming through, actually. Ulmer is on the way here. And Tinsey right behind him, so this could spread things out. It's already starting to spread things out even more, as it seems like Beck will be starting to lose this just a bit.
Oh, and it sounds like as we were watching this, Cy Andra has made more inroads since his lap 2 mistake. He's gotten past Daniel Gralti.
He got Gralti. We'll see that on the replay. Next up is Simonik.
Looks like this was coming out of Sunset Bend. Just got himself a good launch. Tucked into that slipstream. Ducks off to the inside for a nice, decisive move.
Remember, this is your pole sitter who ran into trouble early, fell back to 5th position.
As we come back live, even Cy admitted that he had a lot of learning to do after his first race with this series, and that to me, Bill, is a sign of a potential great driver, when one could admit, you know what, I made mistakes, I'm going to learn from them.
Yeah, and we've seen him in a lot of GSRC broadcasts and a lot of different kinds of cars. I don't think I've ever seen him in a prototype. I'd like him to come in and talk to us and see how much experience he has in it, as now he's working on the back of Severtic. Just to follow up on Schindel, when I mentioned that he won, I was just getting inside with some sympathetic win for him, because that was such a great finish for him to finish second in that race. I think he considers it a win.
I certainly would in this crowd, considering just how high the talent is in the prototypes, which makes sense. The most difficult and challenging car, you think, really deserves the top drivers in the series. Andra getting ever closer to Simonik, looking to get himself back onto the podium. He has not been able to gain on our 2 leaders with all of this battling he's had to do, though. He is now 6.3 seconds back.
I'm actually surprised the HPDs, those prototypes, I'm surprised they actually caught the field as quick as they did. Because honestly, Haley back here in the GTDs put down great pace. Oh, he just, a little bit of confusion between him and Mark Schindel as Schindel came by. Ooh, that was close.
Yeah, that was just behind what we were watching. Let's look at the replay. This was coming out of turn 5. Just manages to duck off to the side at the last second. Maybe cost a little bit of time to Schindel, but no harm, no foul. Meanwhile, Bill, you've spotted something with Huff, it sounds like?
Yeah, this is a real good kind of a duck-duck-goose race going on here for 15th position with Ryan Huff. Yeah, now Ohms has run away with it, and Smith and Paquin are being very friendly, but this is a great battle. Huff is just ahead of Peterson, and Peterson was just in a really tight battle with Via, who's trying to get in there. Best 3-car battle in this class.
They woed up down into Sunset Bend. Via closing in behind them. And off the corner, so many different lines you can take through there. Let's see if Peterson can make this good enough to have a go down into turn 1. He's gaining, but he's not close enough. It's going to take a late dive. Looks very strong on the brakes. And as they exit out, they're going to split apart a little bit. In the meantime, elsewhere in GTLM, sounds like we have another good battle going on between Hill, Postma, and Jackman. That's farther down.
Hill out in front, Postma right there behind him. Actually, a 4-car battle. Well, no, this is going to be really good, because here comes the big cheese. Let's see how he plays with these guys.
Our overall leader, as much as he doesn't want to interrupt this, has to take evasive action to try and get around Jackman, who put 2 wheels off into the dirt. but no dramas there. And I think he's going to get all three. And poor Tinsey, oh, look at this. He's going to get all three cars between them. That is knocking over the furniture and locking the door behind you. Tinsey gets two of them, but still is stuck behind Dave Hill by the time he hits Collier. And the gap that this has caused is now up to 2.1 seconds. Will it be more? Sneaks it through. Earning his nickname once again, Bob the Blade slices through the inside, down into Tower.
It's a good job, though. A tip of the hat to Hill and Postma and Jackman for just racing their line, letting the guys know where they're going to be. They'll get around you.
Or they'll put a stick in your side and let you know they're there. So
better than putting a stick in your spokes.
Yeah. Hey, okay, so our fascination with Beck Duggleby continues here. I can tell you that he's from Seattle, Washington originally, and now resides in Dallas, Texas.
All right, that makes much more sense. Beck coming up there from that from hippie land makes much more sense. All right, there you go.
That's not exactly what I was going to say, but yeah. You know, another interesting fact about him, he's a big fan of Max Verstappen, for our jilted Max Verstappen fans in the audience tonight.
Well, I'm not going to touch on that.
I'm not touching on it either. I'm not.
Okay,
That's
let's go
it.
to Leif Peterson and the GTL M's, because right now, oh my goodness, Vila was very much threatening him. Heading through 4 and 5, he drops off a little bit through Big Bend, but he was oh so close to maybe being able to attempt something. They now come down to the safety pin once more, and they come together. These three have been super tight ever since Sunset Bend. They also have the leaders coming up behind them very quickly.
Joe,
Also,
don't you get the feeling? Of course, Sean wasn't with us last race, but with this being a 90-minute race and 2 pit stops, you almost get a feeling that the drivers are a little more patient than they were in that 60-minute sprint. Yeah.
Well, in about a mile and a half longer track or something like that as well. There's a little more space to work with. Here comes Ulmer, closing up behind Via. The first of them slides through. Is he going to get two before they get to Jean Debienne? Yes, he does. Splits the pair of Huff and Peterson. That means Peterson now has to deal with Via behind him, who's got Tinsey closing up, and Via gets a much better exit. Are we going to see 3 wide? Yes, we are. Tinsey goes to the inside, but no dramas there with the long straightaway coming. But Via now has his best opportunity to finally overtake Peterson down as they break for Sunset Bend. Can he hold the car to that bumpy inside line? He's got it done for now, but he's got to get the exit off the corner as well. And he's clean. Meanwhile, there's a car heading into the pits. That is David Tejada. Is that scheduled?
No hood on that car, so that's probably a good indication.
Not scheduled at all. He hit the inside of Sunset Bend. Let's look at the replay. He was by himself. The Autobahn West driver, even though that team is leading the championship, you're going to see him clip the first apex, the inside wall, and that spins him around into the second apex.
I believe I said something about that in the pre-race. You stand a chance of running it out too far to the left and hitting the wall, or running it too tight to the inside. And what a shame for Tejada. It took him forever to get that car restarted. And actually, you know what? John Paquin almost clipped him coming through there. We don't need to go back and look at it, but I'm sure it was a close moment there for John.
Oh, and Cy Andre has finally overtaken Simonik. I'm not sure if we got that on screen. Let's see if we can figure out where that happened. All right, here we go. Looks like we've pulled it up now. Once again, Andre likes this turn 1 entry, except this time he did it the other way around, going the long way around. Wow, that was... I'm glad we went back and watched that. That was a fantastic overtake. And on top of that, had to deal with some traffic.
We didn't only miss that. We missed Scott McGarvey getting around Beck Duggleby a little over a minute ago. He did it. He did it at coming out of Le Mans, And down the Ullman Straight, he took it.
Well, with that, Dungleby gets himself within reach of the podium. He's now 4th, as McGarvey just ahead of him. So why don't we go and watch Andre and Simonik, since Simonik doesn't seem to be giving this one up, and see if we can ride on board Alex for a little while here. As he tries to hound the newcomer, Andre, of course, a New England driver, seeing what he can do against some of this top talent. It continues to flood into the Autobahn series with every season. Just when we think we've got about the prime of drivers in whichever car, it seems like another one comes in and throws down yet another marker.
Now remember, Andre was 0.2 of a second faster than Ulmer and about 0.4 of a second faster than Tinsey in qualifying. Right now he races about 6.5 seconds behind those guys. Still time, especially when there's traffic involved, for Andre to get back up in the mix and steal the win here.
Do you think it's possible for him? Do you think he can really run them down?
If this was single class racing, I would say no. But with traffic being out here, you can lose a ton of time. So yeah, I think he has a real chance. Plus we have 2 pit stops to go. Plenty of variables for him to still get up there.
Speaking of those pit stops, we should be seeing some scheduled ones very soon. We're now 26 minutes into this race.
And just to follow up, we saw the pit stop come in of David Tejeda, remember? That might be in his window. He pitted with 1 hour and 7 minutes of racing left. There is a fast repair. Oh my goodness. Well, let me apologize. I would have thought he would have taken his fast repair, but nope, that's
he's
not
actually he's in a second time. Guys, he had some trouble.
All right.
Didn't quite catch what happened there, but he is back in for, like I said, a second time. Hey, speaking of the GTD class, Ross Booth, the Canadian driver, he just up 2 spots. He passed Robert Sklenka and Tim McLeish, like they were standing still, and it seems like Ross has started to kind of find his pace here.
Let's go to Pence. It just happened. Pence and Marty Jeffries. You want to talk about interclass racing here? These guys get together. I think we can find it. Here we go. This is just some miscommunication here. I'm not quite sure what was going on. Whoop, maybe we were too far back. It should have been right when he was behind. Nah, I guess we can't find it.
So we come back live. Yeah, I'm not seeing Pence near anyone, so that actually might have been a while ago. And get very close to that 1/3 marker. Once we get pit stops through, we'll run you down the top 5 of each of the classes. Don't forget about Booth, that he had that turn 1, lap 1 incident that sent him all the way to the back. So this is a game of catch-up the rest of this race for Ross.
Yeah, with damage.
Oh, and a side-by-side battle down into Sunset Bend between Sklenka and McLeish. Tim comes out on top in that one. We should note that Tim McLeish is currently leading the AM Championship in the GTD class, which has the bulk of the amateur drivers this season.
Right. And McLeish taking that spot back there from Sklenka. Good move.
In fact, his is an incredibly wide margin compared to all the other the AM drivers in the GTDs. He's got a 17-point lead after only 2 rounds. If he can keep that pace up, he's going to have this one with ease.
Ryan Huff just pitted. He was racing 4th overall. Carlos Villas was coming up behind him in the GTLM class. I think Huff said, I don't want any part of this. As he comes in, brings that Ford in for a stop. My goodness, I know there's a lot of pretty cars out here, Sean, but tell me. Oh, those Fords are pretty.
Yes, they are. Soup. Big fan of the Ford GT indeed.
Just taking a look at Carlos Villa, who's going to temporarily inherit that place. We'll see if maybe he could leapfrog him in the pits. Huff is now exiting. And this pit exit can be a little bit of a tricky one, Sean.
It can. It throws you right out into traffic there, and you really can't see the cars that are coming there, Joe. Your mirrors or your camera don't really pick that up as you're coming off the pit lane. It's very, very tricky, as you see here on screen. Huff comes right out in front of that Ford GT. And, yeah, it can cause issues, definitely.
You heard Sean talk about this being a clockwise track. This is one of the rare tracks, though, where the first turn actually turns away from the direction you would think you'd have. With a clockwise track, you think first corners are usually right. This one goes left. I kind of like that.
In fact, the first and second corner both left. Such an interestingly shaped track. As you said, just the way that it's laid out produces some unusual idiosyncrasies as we watch Marty Jeffries, who Ryan Huff came out in front of.
I think we got a pit party going, guys. McGarvey and Sherbert are in for the GTDs.
John Ulmer has elected to stay out, and Gralty continues on.
Tinsey and Onder are both in.
So is Simonik. Kundinger joins them as well. Is anybody maybe potentially going to try for a short first stop? We wait for the cars to finish up, and Tinsey's first out.
Oh, but look at this. And this might be a little bit of experience that Simonik is crushing, unless there's damage maybe on Onder's car.
I think Andre's getting damage repaired because he's being beaten out by even Carter Kundinger, who was behind him. Andre must be saving his spare car.
Yeah, all that work, he's got to start over again.
He exits, not sure if that's going to be called out by the stewards later. He exits the pit lane sooner than they would have liked. They said to stay to the right of the white double line, and he cut out immediately. I'm not sure how strict they intend to be with that one. Meanwhile, Ulmer is now heading down the Ullman Straight towards Sunset Bend. Let's see if he responds. A little bit hard to use tactics around here of staying out unless you're in a direct battle, because traffic can so easily stop you, and Ulmer does in fact respond.
And while this is going on, Tinsey is stuck behind Leif Peterson right now. That might have cost him some time. But like Joe said, you really don't know how this plays out to the second pit stop, because you don't know who took a full fuel load.
Guys, got a great battle here in the GTD class. It's Brian Bennett, Kevin Santana going out right now. And I'm sorry, that's Brandon Postma that got by him. My bad. Thought I had a battle there. I got fooled.
It's okay. You're not the first. Meanwhile, we understand that there were some problems with Mark Schindel. Let me see if we can find out what happened with Mark. Got the replay up.
Oh, look at that.
He ran out of fuel and coasted to a halt. I did not think this would be that thirsty of a track. Interesting.
Well, eventually you run out of fuel, and I guess everybody is in there. I mean,
yeah, but here's the thing. That's only 3 minutes past the third mark, and this is a two-stop strategy, so that gives a very, very narrow window. So that changes a little bit of the talk about strategy. And if anybody maybe potentially needs to save fuel, especially if they have damage bill, that could suck up your fuel quicker and maybe put you at a risk of a three-stopper.
Yeah, we were assuming it was a full fill and then maybe a half fill later on. But yeah, right now with that window being that tight, yeah, it's probably not anybody going to be short filling.
Meanwhile, Daniel Gralty and Carter Kundinger have come out after their pit stops right next to one another. This is a battle for fourth, and it is on. Look at Gralty have a little bit of a go down into Cunningham, but thinks better of it.
These guys 4.5 seconds ahead of Onder. Remember, Onder was ahead of all of these guys before the stop.
Gralty looking for that good exit coming out of Tower, holding right into the tire tracks of Carter Kundinger. Midwest driver soaking up the pressure with another bit of a peek to the inside from Gralty. Now they hit the Ullman straight one more time, but Gralti drifted wide at the apex, and that cost him.
Leader in the GTLM class coming in. Jeffrey Ooms.
Hearing a little bit of chatter between Ulmer and I believe Robert Sklenka. Actually, that might be worth an onboard with a replay with Ulmer. It's just about 20 seconds ago or so. Coming into Sunset Bend. Yeah, we're going to see as car checks up when he doesn't expect it. And whoop, let's take a little bit of evasive action to the inside there.
Smith and Paquin both stay out in the GTLM class.
Ooms comes in for his stop, and he is out.
You had a couple of GTD stops there, and that was Ross Booth and Tim McLeish. I think McLeish had a little bit of damage repair on his machine, actually, a little bit slow on the stop.
And Booth either took his spare car or he got his damaged repair very well, because that car looks spick and span now.
Yeah, he was a little long in the stop himself, about 3 or 4 seconds based on the other stops.
Oh, guessing he just got
Savretic is in. Dennis Savretic is in, so is Duggleby. That's your leaders here in the GTD class starting to come in. Bennett and Haley stay out on track. Ooh, here comes Kevin Santana, too.
So things a little bit tight as well, as it looks like it, as we've seen most of the GTD field come in very early when usually they run quite long in this class.
We'll follow up on a story. Go to 18th overall, Carlos Villa. Remember, he was in this battle with Huff, and then Huff peeled away. Well, when the pit stops are all done, Villa out in front, racing. Right now, it's 5th in class, but some of that's going to change. I think Lee Peterson still needs to come for his stop. So these guys really racing for 4th.
Seeing some chatter from Brandon Grossi actually praising the GT3 BOP. That's a rarity.
Hey, how about that?
Smith and Pick went in.
Somebody find some mittens for Satan.
Aw.
As we see, wow, pit lane is a busy place right now. Drivers are going to have to be careful. Even though the cars can ghost in iRacing in the pit boxes themselves, you can actually physically hit a car once you exit the pit boxes. So there might be a little bit of a tangle if people aren't paying close enough attention.
And look at this. John Paquin gets the jump. Now, this could be all about tires on Billy Smith. We talked about the tire change, Sean, and maybe you've been on top of the pit box a lot more. Maybe you can talk more about this. But if you do take tires, I guess you can take it first stint or second stint.
Oh, I mean, when do you want to be fast? When do you want to make your move? Certainly, the strategies can vary. Soup there. I'm more of a fan for saving it for late and kind of let the race come to you. But, like I said, it's kind of a crapshoot. Hey, our leaders in the GTD class are actually coming down the pit road now. That's Brett. Haley's in. Brian Bennett getting his way down the pit lane and gets into his box.
Where is Savretic, excuse me. Dennis coming down the Ullman straight. I'm getting names all mixed up today. As Haley is now taking off, so he is looking well clear. There we see the gap.
Yep, right across the start-finish line now.
Oh, and Haley's taken quite a bit of time to get up to speed here. I thought he would have been much farther along, but he does have quite a distance between himself and Savretic.
Bennett had a really short stop there, Joe. Only 38 seconds. He was only 14.4 seconds in the box. That's the difference. Gets himself out in front of Savretic.
Is this what Bill likes to call pay me now, pay me later? Is that hamburger today going to cost him a little bit on Tuesday?
Nice.
Oh my, Joe with a Popeye reference.
I know. I'm a little surprised Joe gets that one, actually.
Jeez.
I watched cartoons as a kid, thank you. Still watch cartoons, honestly. Anyways, so as Bennett pulls himself a nice little move, we expect that to change later unless he's just had a lightning fast stop. But that puts him into P2 for now.
Sean, help me out with this. I'm sorry, Joe. 30 seconds longer, about 29 seconds longer for my guy, Billy Smith, than like Ohms or Paquin. 30 seconds? Is that a set of tires? I didn't think it took that long. Do you think something's up there? I thought it was more like, not like 15 or 20. 30 seconds seems like a long.
Yeah,
stop
there
for
had to
time.
be some damage. There had to be some damage repair there.
I would think.
Yeah.
So the point is, Billy Smith with a horribly long pit stop. I'll go ahead and give you the numbers. It was my God, 50 seconds for him in his box. Compared to Ohms and Paquin were about 20 seconds. So I'm not sure what's up there.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I could think of would be a speeding penalty, but that doesn't line up quite right.
Well, maybe.
It's longer than a speeding penalty would be if it's
Maybe
if
it's
that
a
much
penalty
longer.
and tires. Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe that's
could
what
be
it is.
that. Well, either rate, we have now completed our first set of pit stops, so let's bring you down the top 5 of each of the classes, starting with the prototypes. John Ulmer is leading the way over Robert Tinsley, and he's got about a 3.5 second lead, looking relatively comfortable, does the big cheese. Tinsley in second there, started in third, has gained 1 position after trouble for Cy Andra earlier in the race. Alex Simonik has also taken up third, gotten himself onto the podium, looking very much like he did last season. Carter Kundinger, who has jumped up to the prototypes this season, has moved himself into fourth. And then our pole sitter is still recovering, and actually I think he just overtook Daniel Gralti as we move to him now. So moves Cy Andre into the top 5, and we heard there was a spin somewhere.
Yeah, it was Owens. I think he got a little bit of help. Actually, he got a little bit of a push from Carter Kundinger as Kundinger was coming through. Let's pick this up on the replay here. The contact is very, very slight, but it's just enough to carry Hooper's momentum out there over the curb. Doesn't damage the car. Let's go on board with Kundinger and see how close it really was.
Whenever you go side by side through Collier, that is touch and go. And in this case, it was touch, and he goes.
Oh.
So let's go to the GTLMs. Bill, what's the top 5 there?
Well, it's kind of interesting. It's Jeffrey Ohms. That's no surprise to see him out in front. The question is, why is John Paquin back in 4th position? Let's run him down in order, though. Ohms out in front. Carlos Villa. Now, remember we talked about him in that battle with Ryan Huff? Well, that kind of continues. Right now, Villa in 2nd position as he's working on the back right now of that other car. That's Roth's Booth. Huff in 3rd. Now, John Paquin, I thought he had a pretty relatively good pit stop. I went back to see if I could find any spin that John may have had. I'm not sure why he is in 4th position behind those guys. And then, of course, Dave Hill. And you might be wondering, well, what about our leader, Billy Smith? Well, again, we talked about it. He's racing back there 7th overall. He had that horribly long pit stop. Maybe it'll come back. He can do a real sharp one later on. Sean, what about what's going on there in the GTD, guys?
Hey, man, this race still belongs to Bradley Haley by about 3.5 seconds right now. The Northwest driver having a phenomenal drive and being followed by his other Northwestern teammate there, Brian Bennett, holding down 2nd right now. And Bennett doing that on a little bit of strategy here early. Gets himself up to 2nd there by a little bit of a short pit stop there, being followed by Dennis Saretic, who was in 2nd, now finds himself in 3rd. Dennis not making any ground on him yet. Scott McGarvey is in 4th. The Canadian picking up positions here and closing in on the podium here. Beck Duggleby is back up to 5th. He actually had fallen as low as 6th, but now gets back up to 5th. Beck getting passed here now by the HPD of Mark Wilson, getting by him.
As that was happening, Billy Smith took another position. He got past Dave Hill on the Ullman Straight.
That led his teammate around of John Ulmer, the Autobahn West driver in the prototype.
Now halfway through this race, 45 minutes through a 90-minute race here on the Global Sim Racing channel. If you're just joining us, this is round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. Waiting on those second pit stops to come about 15 minutes from now, we expect. And what's interesting is up at the top, the prototypes have really gotten themselves some space, Bill. I'm so used to things coming back together with these prototypes, especially when you see Ulmer and Tinsey up there at the front. They tend to always not be able to get away from one another.
Yeah, Ulmer in this series, Ulmer with a 4-second lead. That's an eternity between him and Tinsey. And what's kind of interesting, and Sean can probably attest to this as well, there hasn't been a lot of battles for these guys. When Ulmer's been able to pick them off one at a time, everyone seems to be stretched out, not only just in the prototypes, but through the field as well. So he's not coming up on any hornet's nest full of cars. He's just knocking them off one after the other.
Yep, you're right, Bill. Even in the GTD class, there's really not a whole lot of fighting going on. The best one going right now is Dino Topic trying to hold off Kevin Santana.
If you're wondering where your favorite driver is and you don't see them anywhere in the field, well, we've had some DNFs already. John King, Mark Kudrowski, David Tejada, Marty Jeffries, and Mark Schindel are all in pit lane, and I think most of them have called it a day. I do not expect them to return to the track before this race is over, sadly. Got a nice fight in GTLM between Brandon Postma and Robert Jackman, those two within half a second of each other. This is for the 7th position in that class. Nice run through Big Bend from Brandon Postma as he reels in Jackman, coming together down into the safety pin. Canadians still leading the way. Going to get split momentarily by Carter Kundinger as they slow it up. Oh, and there was some contact ahead of them. 2 cars going off. That's Sheldon Woloshin and Dave Hill, and that is positions for Hill that he just lost to Postma and Peterson and Jackman.
Oh, yeah, Woloshin just, I don't know, I guess he missed the braking zone there or whatever, but it's going to be a center punch, Mercedes into the Ford.
Look up punt in the encyclopedia, and that's kind of what you're going to see.
Yeah.
Well, they might not have brake fade modeled yet in iRacing, but brain fade is very much a thing. And that could be the case in this situation between those 2 cars. So Hill is able to continue, thankfully, and so is Woloshin.
Yeah, Woloshin's front end, though, not looking good, Joe. He's hurt.
It's kind of a good thing, though. I'm glad to see it. You know, it reminds me when I was a kid, I got some skis for Christmas, and then it never snowed like for the rest of the year. Kind of reminds me, we GSRC just bought Amjad, our director, a new replay button after he used it all up last time at Mosport, and really hasn't had a chance to use it much here today. I'm glad. A little bit of a punt going on there.
As it takes out a whole bunch of cones on top of it.
That was a horrible year.
And he stays out, though. Woloshin's going to wait and try to gut it out.
Dino Topic getting turned here by Ryan Huff down into the safety pin. Oh boy,
this was a pass for position, I believe, as well.
No, different classes there.
Oh, was it? Okay, yes.
Yeah, right. But Huff tries to get through there, and
then once he turns him, he has nowhere to go.
How about John Paquin making a nice evasive maneuver around the outside? Let's watch on board. Paquin wants nothing to do with any of the other class traffic after 2 weeks ago. He's going to see the smoke start to happen, has to pick a side, and this was brave. I would have gone for the inside, but it would have been the wrong move on my part. Paquin brilliantly calling that one.
And Sean, that's the second one that Paquin got by. Remember, you noted the one that the accident coming out of Sunset that he almost got a piece of as well.
Yeah, he said a couple of moments.
Yeah.
That was Ulmer that just got past him. Still leading by about 4 seconds. These two are stretching away from the third-place driver, Alex Simonik, who has had no answer. He is now 5 seconds back from the top two. Or at least from Tinsey, I should say.
But Paquin now has moved up into third. Again, I don't know why he's back there, so we're going to have to watch that. The interval from Ohms to Paquin is about 17 seconds. The leader in the GTLM to the third place driver. Carlos Villa running in second. What a great run from him.
Let's head back to the GTLM because the battle between Peterson and Postma getting very hot as they come down into turn one. Sorry to cut you off there, Sean.
No, it's okay.
Unfortunately, it looks like he lost out. He had a good look through Sunset Bend and unfortunately lost off of Peterson. Peterson going a little bit wide through turn 3, but keeps the car together. Now they come through 5. That's also a position ahead of them, Robert Jackman. In fact, there's a position behind them. Dave Hill is in this as well.
All 4 of those guys, Jackman, Peterson, Postma, and Hill, in a nice battle. That would be for what, about 6th overall, I guess? No, I did that again, didn't I?
Sixth in class.
Yeah, more money goes into the jar.
Math. We don't do it, Sue.
Overall is the whole field, Bill.
Yeah, I understand. My tongue is not obeying.
Oh, a little bit off the apex for Jackman, and that allows Peterson to really close up. He's now really putting the pressure on, coming through Tower. I wonder if Jackman did not take tires and is struggling now. That's about 3 apexes in a row that he gave no attempt at trying to hit the curb. This time he gets it into Jean Debienne and looks a lot smoother.
That's why we paid Joe Peak the big money. That's exactly what happened. Jackman's pit stop in the box, 21 seconds. Peterson's pit stop in the box, 48 seconds. That feels like tires.
Jackman drifted off to the dirt coming out of Le Mans. Here comes Leif Peterson with a draft down to Sunset Bend. Is he brave enough to stick his nose in? He takes a peek, but pulls out of it. Maybe sizing him up for the exit here. Look at him close mid-corner. Did that hurt his momentum? Just doesn't have the pace coming off when he needs it.
Let me follow up on one more issue. Stay on this battle. We talked about pit stop time. I was worried about Billy Smith's pit stop, which was 50 seconds. No, that's right in line with like what Peterson did and what Pfeiffer have done. So I think those are a tire stop. I think everything's fine with Billy Smith.
Oh, and this time it's Peterson's turn to give the apex a miss through turn 3. Tucks it down in through 5, tries to get the power down. And as these two are battling, they are not under threat, surprisingly, from Postma and Hill, who continue to stalk them from behind. This is going to be the best chance here for Peterson. But doesn't dive it in down in the safety pin.
Peterson, the only one of those 4 cars with fresh rubber.
He's looking a little bit antsy, like he wants to use it. This time he dives around to the outside, coming down into Cunningham. Much later on the brakes into this one. Almost gets chopped off at the apex and cannot carry his speed. This has been a fantastic defense from Jackman.
Sean, give a note out to one of your guys. They're coming up on Christopher Sherburne. These guys are going to be tough.
Oh,
yeah,
they're looking at 2 wide here. This is not going to be well if they try and go 3 wide through Bishop. They do not. Peterson lifts. Oh. What a camera angle. That was Onboard Sherburne looking back at the car of Jackman, and they all get by. Wow.
And big thanks to our director, Amjad Yaman, for getting that shot.
That was good.
Oh, Postma giving a bump draft to Peterson. He wasn't interested in making the pass, but he wanted to try and give some help. Way to the outside. There goes Jackman. Blows the corner. Almost gets into the tires. Tries to carry the speed off the corner. limits the damage somewhat, but here comes Brandon Postma. He's going to have the outside line down into turn 1. He's not fully alongside, switches back to the inside. Jackman slightly defensive, coming in a little bit shallow. Almost brushes that inside wall, and a slip up from Postma almost puts him into Dave Hill. And despite all that action, only one position change between all 4 cars.
You talked about interesting racing lines through sunset. I'm not sure if that one we just saw was really the preferred line.
And I'm not sure if we want to peel ourselves away from this. We're hearing there's a battle for 4th about to happen. Let's take a look at the prototypes. Kundinger and Andra. Andra still on his recovery drive.
Is he in line for a Dory tonight?
I'm not sure if this one counts as a Dory. That's usually goes to drivers farther back.
Okay. Just checking.
Okay, now it's my understanding, maybe you guys in the YouTube chat or my fellow commentators can correct me if I'm wrong, that now the prototypes have to change fuel and tires separately. Does that make sense to you boys? Is that where we think we are in that?
Well, right now there's a great pass to the inside happening from Andra, and it looks like he's got it done. But sorry, that was the question. Whoa, and it's not over yet. Here comes Kundinger back at him, down into 3, but can't do anything with it. Was the question on do the prototypes change?
Do tires after fuel? Because it kind of relates to this battle. Yes. Andra had that long pit stop.
Yes,
I think he is on fresh tires. Yeah.
That has been for a number of seasons now. Right. They have Le Mans rules, as they call them.
Yeah, there you go. So Andra, that's kind of why he's back there. I think he did his tire change last time.
You know, I think for Andra we should have a new award here, Sean. Maybe the LL award. Don't call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. Love it, Joe.
All right, Carlos Villa has made his pit stop. The privateer returns to the track.
That was from second position.
Slots him back into 10th in class.
Guys, Brandon Guarcia has taken his second pit stop in the GTDs. He's going to slot back out in 12th as Matt Owens just gets by.
That fight for Jackman is not over. In fact, it's very hot right this second as they're side by side through the safety pin. And look at that off the corner. Oh, as Postma gets a bump in the back from Dave Hill. But ouch. Jackman, with what a defense, getting the power down and managing to get the run despite being almost fully passed.
Oh, we got some stuff happening here, GTD. Brian Bennett pulls off, so does Scott McGarvey right behind him. Remember, Bennett going with a short strategy last time. Time to pay the piper.
Both of them hitting their marks. Bennett in, McGarvey in. We watch them get fuel and then, I'm assuming, eventually tires. If we look at Jackman, back to that GTLM battle. He's put some distance between himself and Postma temporarily. Sorry, it's an HBD coming on here. Mark Wilson getting by Postma. Boy, that hit from Dave Hill, though, seems to have really hurt David. The Canadian has dropped back almost over a second, it looks like. Oh, and it looks like Jackman is in.
Bennett's out. McGarvey's out. Both with long pit stops there, Joe. So fuel and tires for those two.
Yeah, none of the guys in your class, Haley, Sebring, Duggleby, they all had short pit stops the first time. So, Sean, I think they're all going to take long ones this time. Maybe. If our buddy Dexter Casper was here, he wouldn't change tires. He'd run it on the rims.
We watch the 7th place Bennett work his way through turns 3 and 4, trying to be chased down by McGarvey. After this set of pit stops, we'll of course give you another rundown before we get to the finish of each of the classes. What a stark difference this has been from Mosport 2 weeks ago. Different circumstances, very different track, different race length, but I do think it left an impression on a number of drivers, Bill. I think maybe it cooled things down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just looking over Cy Andra. If I get a reading on this, is he really... It looks like he's only about 16 seconds behind the leaders.
I think that's correct. Meanwhile, Steve Jones, we're getting some information on him. Oh,
We're
he's
looking at
having it
Steve
off.
Jones off. Jones is racing in
a
10th.
little bit of help. Him and Dave Hill get together, actually.
Oh,
Over in...
it's a pretty good touch. And then on top of it, Jones tapping the Armco. Let's watch Onboard Hill. She's down in the tower. Meanwhile, heard a little bit of talk from Dino Topic. Looks like Dino was just being passed by a car, so no, not worth a replay there.
Let me finish up on my point with Cy Andra being 16 seconds back. I'm assuming he took tires. He's really in the hunt here, guys. I really think when they come in for these pit stops, Ulmer, Tinsey, and Simonik are all going to take rubber. I don't think Andra is. Now, Andra may not be faster after the pit stops, but at least he'll be in the hunt. Because remember, he's raced this whole stint on rubber, so he should be able to close up a bit, you know?
In the meantime, Savretic has been in and out, and Tinsey is in for his pit stop. Ulmer stays out. Simonik joins Tinsey. And as these two come in, Cy Andra does in fact stay out. We'll find out soon, Bill.
This is all interval right now. He's just counting the yards here. This is all yards he needs when he comes in to make this stop. To try yards on Tinsey.
Looks like Daniel Gralty is coming in for his pit stop. Oh, but he misses his stall by a large margin. You saw it on screen. Almost went completely through Tinsey.
And talking about Tinsey, I don't think he took rubber. 19 seconds was his stop.
He is in and out and on his way with 28 minutes left to go.
You saw in our race details graphic that we put up in the beginning of the show that his tires that had the question mark. Well, Tinsey says no tires for me. So now what does Ulmer do?
Well, Ulmer is yet to come to pit lane. He's coming up around Le Mans down the Ullman Straight. And this will tell us the tale now. Just to put another lap on Tim McLeish, our AM Championship points leader. Up and around Sunset Bend. I'm expecting him to be in this time, and I am wrong as he continues on. So an extra 2 laps.
Yeah.
I guess going as long as he can each time. Meanwhile, seeing that Steve Jones has come into the pits and he is exiting out. His is done with. We're now following Cy Andra and looks like Kundinger with him.
Now, even though we saw Tinsey take his second stop, didn't take tires, Gralty came in on his second stop and did take tires.
Andra still stationary.
Yeah, his is going to be fast. He should be in and out quick, I would think.
Tinsey's coming along just past the start-finish line. Andra still sitting there. And now he's gone. Kundinger goes with him. So, Bill, was that a quick stop for Cy?
Yeah, it was 18 seconds. The problem is Tinsey didn't stop for tires, so that's why Tinsey still has that gap. But Tinsey's been racing the entire race on old rubber. Andra didn't take tires, but at least his tires are one stint fresher.
did Simonic take tires? Because Simonic is the one directly in front of Andra.
He did not. So the question is, what will Ulmer do? The only people who stopped for tires that time were Gralti. So really, the only two prototypes I know that took tires was Andra the first time and Gralti the second time.
I suspect that how quickly Andra can catch Simonic could give us an indication of whether or not that decision to take tires was a good one.
The plot thickens as here comes the big cheese.
Ulmer slowing it down to pit lane speed, waiting to find his stall. Going to be the very second to last one, really, we should say. On the pit lane, he hits his marks nice and cleanly. Waiting for the fuel and tires. Tinsley is now coming out of Le Mans. Ulmer still now he's moving.
No tires. Really fast stop, 16.4 seconds.
Well, he's got a large gap back to Tinsley now. As he comes across the line, we'll get a nice indication of what the distance is between them. Ulmer already working his way through turn 3. Tinsley just now coming up to turn 1. And it is looking as though this gap is about 12 seconds between them.
No guarantee about this, but you got to assume Ulmer ran so long, he must be getting good fuel mileage, which means he gets to take less fuel on his last stop. He only has 24 minutes of racing to fill for. So they're done.
Oh, wow. Almost big trouble. Dennis Savretic there. He had the Carlos Villa right behind him. Carlos gets into the rear end of him there.
He's coming into Jean Debienne, yeah. Just a little fast, as light as the touches, it looks like.
Yeah.
Maybe a new pair of pants for Carlos.
Now, there's a reason I'm watching Dennis. There's a reason I'm keeping an eye on him, because cars ahead of him are now starting to make the decision to pit. Kevin Santana now in the pit lane, into his box. And Savretic is going to pass him and take over fourth. That leaves Dino Topic, Beck Duggleby, and Bradley Haley all ahead of him, needing to pit. Honestly, it's going to be close. Bradley Haley 1 minute 6 seconds ahead. The pit delta could get close to a minute. We'll see.
One thing I'd like to point out, an interesting stat of the day, is if Ulmer can win this, that would mean in 3 rounds at the start of the season, we've had 3 different winners. Because Costa won the first one, Tinsley won the second one. Ulmer's doing his darndest to try and take the third one.
And they were worried with the talent leaving in that class that it'd be all Tinsley all season long. Not the case so far.
First round, he lost out due to fuel strategy. No surprise there that Costa out-strategized him. Second round, he took it home, survived the chaos that everybody else around was falling victim to. This time around, seems like Ulmer may have stolen a march on tires. And of course, we know that Ulmer loves these American tracks.
Here's a battle. Let's go to third position, Alex Simonic. Just because Andra is closing so fast, by the time if I wait too long, I'm going to miss it. Andra is just gobbling up Simonic. Remember, there's a difference in rubber right now.
He's had
interval about 9/10 of a second.
I've been watching it, and he's been having a little bit of trouble with traffic, has Andra. Simonic now is getting his own dose of that medicine. He's got Brandon Barassia and Matt Owens. He's going to get one through Collier. Is he brave enough to stick it in through Tower? Yes, he is. Here comes Cy Andra, who can't quite sneak through.
That's 3 wide down the front stretch, Joe, as they get by Savretic.
Oh, and just behind them, Dino Topic comes in for his stop. So we're now waiting on Haley and Duggleby, it looks like, at the top of the GTDs. "21 minutes left to go here in round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge. I think that battle between Andra and Simonic is just about to get a little hotter. It's down to half a second as they break into turn 1. Andra much better on the binders. Closes the gap, but it stretches back apart, getting into the wake of the car ahead. Sheldon Woloshin is up ahead of them, and it actually has a big mistake, stays off track. Or does he? Whoa! We were watching from onboard Andra during that whole thing. And a great job to see that one coming. Doesn't miss a beat as he's still hounding Simonic. The Californian has to be looking in his mirrors now, wondering if the New Englander is going to make an attempt soon. He could maybe use traffic to his advantage. Jeff Hoofer is up. He dives inside, but he's going to be followed through.
Okay, with time running down on the clock here, Brian Bennett being chased by Scott McGarvey really gets a great run there out of Lamar. McGravy going to come up the inside, down the straight. Now they got Ross Booth right in front of him there. Booth still needs a pit stop. Look at this run down into Sunset. Booth's going to let him go.
Yeah, he's not. He knows this is not his fight.
Boy, that Audi just stuck through Sunset, man. A lot of grip down there for him. Maybe a reason to drive the Audi here at Sebring right there alone, Joe.
Yeah, definitely. Certainly seems to like things at the moment. Meanwhile, we've jumped back up to that prototype fight. Andra just can't seem to get the run in the middle of the corner. In fact, we're hearing that maybe Simonic was a little bit loose, but look at this, an attack from the outside. We've seen this before, but Andra not able to execute. Still, he's right up on top of Alex Simonic, down into turn 3. Has to stay behind. Tight and twisty, slow section here. Simonic off the apex. Andra gets the better run. They're now coming down through Big Bend. Stays to the inside. It's the end of the race. He wants to be on this podium. But Andra better onto the brakes, trying to hold onto the car as it washes out mid-corner in the safety pin. Has he finally gotten past? He's ahead of him now, but it looks like Simonic is going to try to come back at him. Down into Cunningham. He had just a nose in, but a defensive move from Andra blocks him off, comes back to the line. Still tries to outbrake him into the corner, but can't carry the speed. Andra finally has it done. And as that was happening, Ooms took his pit stop at the top of the GTLMs.
Yeah, and it's kind of like having a date with a pretty girl. You don't want to take her to the movies if she's pretty. You want somewhere where you can see her. That's kind of what's going on right now. Ooms did not take tires because there's just not enough time yet to get any advantage out of it. If that reference made any sense at all.
One hundo.
Okay. The point is, with only 17 minutes of racing to go, no reason to take the time to get rubber now.
Cannot make use of it. So the top of your GTLM. Wait, am I seeing Paquin up at the front?
Yeah, well, he hasn't made a stop yet.
Okay,
just came in.
My timing and scoring said he had his second one, so it was lying to me there. I was a little surprised for him. I was like, wait a minute, how did we miss that?
And Ooms is sitting pretty good. His stop was 14 seconds. He should be in pretty good shape here.
Another top driver we're waiting on is Bradley Haley, so that we can do our rundown.
What about Haley's season? My goodness, he's got a win in a second place and just crushing that class right now.
Well, it could have been a win in another win, though. That last race is a chance of, or a case of what could have been. He continues on for yet another lap.
A little surprised by that. I really thought he was going to peel off right here, but hey, listen, he's the guy in the seat, and maybe he's got a guy in the box telling him, hey, run. But with almost a 20-second lead right now over Beck Duggleby, who's also got to come in the pits, things looking pretty good there for Bradley Haley.
Indeed, channeling his inner Scott Dixon, but Duggleby has called enough and decides that now is for when he needs to take his second and final pit stop. Also, John Paquin finally coming in. He's going to relinquish the lead over to Jeffrey Ooms.
We assume, and Billy Smith coming in.
Well, no, he has. Ooms has already passed.
Oh, Ooms is gone. Well, let's see. Billy Smith comes in. He should be able to come out somewhere behind Paquin.
Yeah, Paquin exits, but in second place. Wow, what a gap, though. Ooms currently 20 seconds ahead of Paquin.
Joe, that's what fooled me when you said he's going to turn over. I said, well, let's wait and see. But yeah, 20 seconds. He was long gone.
Did Dunkleby take tires here?
Well, it was an awful long pit stop there, Joe. I think he did. Yeah, no, he took tires, definitely.
Clearly does not understand the taking the pretty girl to the movies thing. We'll get that worked out.
Well, that hands over a position to, I believe, both Bennett and McGarvey. That moves Bennett up onto the podium.
Sometimes, Sean, you just can't drive the car, though. Sometimes you have to take tires or put it in the wall.
Here comes Dunkleby now into sunset. Not Dunkleby, but Haley, our leader. Let's see what he does here.
Traversing over the bumps, and this looks like a pit stop to me. Yes, indeed. Bradley Haley, finally, with only 14 minutes left on the clock, takes that Rainier Racing AMG Mercedes down to his pit stall. And this time, no such problems as he had in Motorsport a season ago. Finds his stall perfectly. With that, let's go through our order. Top 5 in the prototypes. John Ulmer. Well, that lead has been cut down somewhat. It is now 13 seconds between Ulmer and Tinsey, who is in second position. Tinsey started in third, has moved up one. Ulmer has as well. Cy Andra is in third. He's only 6.5 seconds back from Tinsey and on fresh tires. But doesn't seem like... Did we miss something here, Sean?
Oh, Chris Pence. All right, Haley comes out right next to Chris Pence. It's that tricky exit we talked about. Man, he almost wraps Haley. Would have been an ender for him right there. Jeez, that was so close. Haley taking the short pit stop too, by the way, Joe.
Interesting. Well, glad to see that Haley was not taken out for that one. That would have been crushing. Meanwhile, Andra, as we said, in third place, about 7 seconds back. Simonik is not far behind Andra. If Andra has any sort of mistake, he could give away this podium to Alex. And then rounding out the top 5, a driver having a very solid season so far, and new to the prototypes, is Carter Kundinger. Let's go to the GTLMs.
It is the mantra. Jeffrey Ooms out in front by a whopping 20 seconds over the John Pac-Man Paquin. Now, Paquin racing in second has about 7 seconds lead over the drivers had the best race that I've seen of anybody out here. And that is Carlos Villa. A great run from him. Nice job to Villa. Billy Smith is going to run in fourth position. Remember, he led early. And then rounding out your top 5, Ryan Huff. Now, Huff, though, let's leave here for a second. Huff is in a battle. He's got right behind him something we can check in on. I believe that is a battle for position somewhere, yes? With, is that Lee Peterson?
Peterson, yes, indeed. It is for the top 5. And they've got traffic ahead of them in the form of Scott McGarvey. It's always a little bit difficult between the GTLM and GTD because they are relatively close on pace. He's going to hold off to the left. Is this going to let him through? No, it's not. He's trying to run his own race. McGarvey is in a fight of his own with Bennett.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is indeed. It's a close one, too.
Is this finally going to be the time? As they come onto the Ullman straight, they've got a little bit of a run as Huff dives to the inside, but here comes Peterson with a draft. Going to be a defensive move there from Ryan Huff, just holding the middle, using that lap traffic as a pick, and defends successfully. A little bit wide off the corner. He's got to be careful. He doesn't have to lift. He's good, though.
Tip of the hat to Peterson. 11 minutes of racing to go. You got to run on the guy you're chasing down, and you decide to wait for a better opportunity. Nice job, Lee.
Bill, I have to ask if Um's nickname is the mantra. What color is his chakra?
Oh,
I don't know, Joe.
Alex Simonic was upset about something. He's going to have to get a mantra of his own. That was
maybe
Carlos Villa. This is worth a replay. About maybe 25 seconds ago. Oh, and meanwhile, that actually kicked off a little bit of a battle between Smith and Villa. So we'll stay on this instead of looking at the replay. Villa almost shoving Smith off track. And what Simonic was upset about is Villa took a defensive line on the HPD down into the safety pin. Usually don't expect that from a slower car.
no.
Not unheard of, though. I have heard a number of drivers say that they'll defend the inside line if they don't want the faster class to make a move on them right then.
Maybe sometimes they should defend that inside line if they don't want anybody to sneak up inside them, Joe.
Well, that's exactly what he did. That's what I'm saying.
I was making reference to a certain race that might have been on yesterday, but anyway.
Okay. Well, ooh, great run there from Billy Smith, but he runs out of track down into Sunset Bend.
Villa couldn't really defend. He had to let the prototype of Gundinger go through.
Oh!
Open the door. Oh, here we go.
That was a big bobble and a great catch by Villa, but that has opened the door just a little bit as it looks like Smith's got a run. Villa at least has the inside down into turn one. Can he pull the over-under coming around this fast left-hander? Not quite.
Boy, Villa kind of ushered Billy Smith over a little bit so Villa could get a good entry.
I'm not sure if that was a glitch on my screen, but from above, it looked like Villa just had nearly a death snap on the exit of Sunset Bend. I don't think I've ever seen someone catch a car like that out of that corner.
Joe, the question has been posed. Does Villa maybe have a black flag he needs to serve? Because apparently his laps have stopped registering. Are you seeing that on your timing and scoring?
I'm still okay.
His last lap did not register.
That didn't register for me either.
I think that might be a connection issue, potentially. Well, he's still being hounded. Billy Smith trying everything he can to get by. Smith on fresher tires, we believe, correct?
Yes. Well, one stint-wise, he changed them a long time ago, but yes, they certainly not as old as Villa. I'm still showing Smith and Villa, though, on the same lap.
Down they head into Jean Dambienne. And this is going to be the best opportunity for Smith. As the Texas driver gets a great run because of a mistake from Carlos Villa. Here they come, up around the outside. Carlos going to make him work for it. It's going to be a drag race to the braking into Sunset Bend. Who is braver? The answer right now is Smith, but can he hold the grip as he swings wide? A loss of grip on the inside, spinning around, and Carlos Villa has to get on the binders to bring the car back together. Give the spot to Billy Smith.
Wow.
Villa sliding like a trombone on a toboggan. He got that thing straightened out, but he loses the position.
Carlos Villa, any relation to Pancho, maybe?
Well, there has got to be some sort of problem with the car here, because that's twice two fast corners have spun him out. We're wondering if he has a meatball flag, and that could be why his times are not registering. The last lap did register, so. Sean,
right.
We never got to you on the GTDs.
We didn't. Now, I will tell you, there's a really great battle going on, but let's get this real quick. We've got Bradley Haley still in first. Now, he finds himself just over 30 seconds to the good, or just under it, actually. It's Dennis Savretic who fought hard, but that short pit stop there by Bradley Haley in the second one has really put him at a disadvantage. So, second. Now, it's third place that's being questioned right now. Brian Bennett trying to hang on to this. Scott McGarvey back there driving the wheels off of his Merc in fourth. He wants to get that car around. What happens is he gets there and then traffic comes through and it breaks the battle back up. But right now, McGarvey has got those rotors glowing, and just a nice heat trail coming off the rear end of that Mercedes as it tries to catch Brian Bennett there in third. And then we'll go back to fifth. It's Beck Duggleby, still in a top 5 position, working hard. But, at this point, he's almost 7 seconds back from Scott. I don't know if he's going to have enough to catch him. He's still got more traffic behind him getting ready to come through. So things could be a little tough for him as far as getting the front. We've only got just under 6 minutes to go. So Beck probably going to hold on to that 5th position as long as he can keep it clean here.
And a reminder that Bennett is the lone Audi out in this race. I'm sure that mirror is getting a little bit murky with Scott McGarvey closing in behind him. We'll come down into Sunset Bend. Wide entry from Scott McGarvey, maybe trying to square off the exit to get himself a launch. The gap between them is now less than a second.
I'll say it again, though. That Audi has an awful lot of grip in Sunset. It seems to have a really nice trip through every time.
Ooh, way off the apex through turn 1 for Brian Bennett, though, and that's going to close it down further. Now 7 tenths, flashing at 6 tenths momentarily. Come out of turn 5 up into Big Bend. 4.5 minutes left to go. 3/4 of a second between 3rd and 4th position. This podium has not been decided by any stretch of the imagination.
Maybe the only battle on track that I can find. This is a good one these guys are having.
I think you're right there, Bill. Everybody else is at least 2 seconds apart or more. This isn't our tightest fight on the track. As we watch McGarvey do what he can. Now, we've talked to Steven quite often. I don't think we've talked to Scott McGarvey.
No, I hope he comes in.
Yeah.
We'll ask him who moms like best. That's always what I like to ask brothers.
I'm starting to see a lot of marbles form off the racing line. It's going to make drivers even more hesitant to try and jump aside for the faster classes. As they work their way up to Sunset Bend. Is McGarvey going to square it off this time? No, not as wide on entry. Tucks it in nice and tight, but look at how that gap continues to disappear. Last time by, it was 7 tenths. This time by, it is only 5 tenths, half a second.
Yeah, there is one small fight going on in the back of the GTD field. It's Christopher Sherburne and Matt Owens trying to settle 12th place there. It's a close one.
You can see just ahead of them, that's Tim McLeish in 11th. He's going to get another haul of points today towards his AM championship.
Yeah, Matt Owens really hounding him right now. Got to get there to make the pass.
Yeah, Sherburne looks like he is hustling the car too. Work their way towards Bishop, the fast double apex left-hander. Ferrari versus Mercedes. That is a familiar story to a lot of race fans right now.
Oh, guys, back up to Brian Bennett. Bennett just had big trouble out of Cunningham. Really almost lost the car, almost looped it there, and his boy, Scott McGarvey, is right there. Bennett really having trouble. He's struggling right now with that Audi.
Let's watch the replay and see what exactly happened.
You see the rear end of this car come around out of Cunningham.
Maybe just a little bit of that inside curb. That is a tall curb there. Ooh, yeah, quite a slide.
Down the Ullman Straight they go. And it was Bennett with a better exit.
Keeps the storm at bay for now. Well, it looks like Owens has gotten past Sherburne while we looked away. Oh, and Billy Smith is in the pits. Is this too short on fuel?
Splash and go. Yep.
Gotta be.
And while all this is happening, the white flag is coming out because John Ulmer has less than 50 seconds to go, and he is crossing the start-finish line.
Ooh. This battle between Bennett and McCarvey's getting good, man.
And I'm not sure if they're going to be caught before this lap is over, so they might have 2 full laps to try and settle this out. So John Ulmer had a bad first round, got into trouble with traffic, had similar issues, made some mistakes as well in round 2 up in Canada. Looked like he had great pace up there. Could have potentially done something with it. And while the big cheese has often seen it slip off the pizza, he's got a 12-second gap. There isn't much traffic in front of him. He can try and wait patiently, just bring this car safely home. Works his way through Collier, down in the tower. Tinsey has had no answer. Once Ulmer took that away from Cy Andra, it has been his race to lose. Through Bishop now, the double apexer. Up ahead is the car of Beck Duggleby. He could wait patiently if he wanted. No, he's going to slide through before they get to Le Mans. No dramas there. And from here on out, I don't think he'll have to overtake anybody. Ulmer down the Ullman Straight, up towards Sunset Bend. It took 3 races to get his season going, but as John Ulmer rounds that 180-degree corner, over the bumps and across the line, John Ulmer is going to win round 3 at Sebring.
Holmes is just going through Bishop right now. It's going to be a little while till he gets there. I think he's ahead of Haley. He's
He is
our next
indeed.
to finish. You know, maybe Atlantis Morissette can help me out with this. I'm not good on irony, but for Billy Smith, it cost him about 4 positions to take the extra time to get tires and then not take enough time to take enough fuel. I don't know. 3 pit stops.
Oh boy, Jeffrey Ooms. How about his race? Just has been unfazed the entire time. We wondered if there would be anybody to challenge John Paquin with his turn of speed, as a little bit of traffic gets in the way of him. But after winning the first round and problems in the second one, Jeffrey Ooms is going to take the win in the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sports Car Challenge at Sebring.
All right. Looks like Bradley Haley comes out of Le Mans and down the Ullman Straight. It's all his. Got to get through Sunset one last time here to settle it.
Should be easy enough for the Mercedes. He's done it a number of times, 44 of them to be exact. And on the 45th time through, no problem for Bradley Haley to take his second win of the season here at Sebring. The battle is not over for that podium position. Savretic is going to get second in the GTDs, but Brian Bennett is holding off McGarvey.
Yeah.
He put the afterburners on. That Audi has put a nice little safety gap between himself and McGarvey.
A little bit of traffic come through there, Joe, and it really helped him out. That Audi stuck like Chuck through Sunset. Going to come down the straight and across the line and finish out our podium. Brian Bennett.
Billy Smith, disappointment just behind them. He takes his frustration out on the tires. With that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, and on screen we'll have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. welcome back to Sebring International Raceway. We just watched round 3 of the Autobahn Motorcar Group Sportscar Challenge. And there's some feel-good stories that came out of this one for sure. The big one, of course, is that John Ulmer got his first win of the season here after redeeming himself from his first 2 rounds. And he did it over Robert Tinsley. I'm sure he feels good about that one, his main rival these past 4 seasons, to put one over him on raw pace. Tinsley came home in second, and Andra, our pole sitter, an early race mistake put him on the back foot. He was never able to fully recover and wound up finishing in third. Alex Simonik, he came home in fourth with Carter Kundinger rounding out the top 5. Daniel Kralty, who looked promising, qualified in fourth. He slipped backwards. He finished in sixth in the end. Lionel Duprat finished in seventh with P8 going to Mark Wilson behind him. Chris Pence was in ninth, and the last of our prototypes that actually finished the race was Steve Jones. Only 10 of the prototypes at the line. Bill?
We get then into the GTLMs, and it is Jeffrey Ooms is your winner. Runner-up is John Paquin. Miss Congeniality goes to Ryan Huff. My high school Spanish tells me that Carlos Vila is how you're going to pronounce that, 1 L. I'll go with that one right now. Leif Peterson had a good run as he finished 5th in class. Jimbo Pfeiffer behind him. Going with the 3 pit stop strategy, not the way to make it work, as Billy Smith II falls into 7th overall. Dave Hill, Brandon Postma, Robert Jackman, Miguel Meyer, and Dale Green round out the class. Crackers?
Yes, sir. And we'll move on here on our screen, and we'll go down to, let's see, Bradley Haley. Of course, your big winner in the GTD class. Dennis Savretic, they're in second. Brian Bennett, third tonight. It was a hard-fought third as Scott McGarvey was chasing him down there at the end. He'll finish fourth. Beck Duggleby with a solid run. He'll finish fifth. Kevin Santana, 6th place for him tonight. Dino Topic, 7th. 8th, going to go to Brandon Guarcia. Ross Booth with a good drive tonight. He'll finish 9th. Sheldon Woloshin, he actually had some trouble and recovers to finish in 10th there. 11th, going to go to Tim McLeish. Matt Owens in 12th. Christopher Sherburne, 13th. Sheldon Rosenbaum, 14th. Robert Sklenka, 15th. Jeff Hooper, 16th. 17th, going to go to David Tejada. And Jason Gerard actually never started the race.
And indeed, Kudrowski and King down there as well with DNFs. First off, let's talk to our overall winner, John Ulmer, who gets himself a little bit up after this one and will gain on his competitors with some nice points on the board. Congratulations, John. Would you count this one as one of your strong tracks?
Yeah, it's hot and cold. I'm usually quick here. I have mixed results in official races, so sometimes it's great, but it just all matters how everything falls for me on this one.
Obviously, Andra had that issue very early on that sent him off the track and on the back foot. Do you think if he hadn't have had that mistake, it would have been a big fight between you and him for the win, or do you think you had the pace anyways?
No, he did. There was nothing he could do. He was on medium downforce. I ran low, and there's a reason why I ran low. I should have ran it in the Neo race here, but I second-guessed myself and went medium anyway. Once you clear them, there's absolutely nothing they can do unless you make a mistake. They're at your mercy the rest of the race, and I would rather it be that way than me be at their mercy. So a trick I use all the time is I will run them as deep as I can on the brakes because that's my strong place is the braking, and to see if they make that error and go deep. And if they do, it makes it easy. If they don't, then yeah, we got to fight for a while. But I knew once I cleared them, there's nothing he could do because I'm 8 miles per hour up on the straightaways, and I just slow them down in the corners and not give them a lane to pass on.
Certainly seemed like a brilliant strategic move there on your setup approach to this race. Now, if we could take the winner's cap off for a moment and put on the league organizer cap for a minute, this was a much calmer race from our perspective compared to Mosport. Were you pretty pleased with the change between 2 weeks ago and this race? Yeah,
I think, the nature of the track helps. I mean, as bumpy and just absolutely terrible as Sebring is, it's a long track. and it gives people a place to spread out. And with, a minute and 50 lap times on the fast class, you don't have us tripping over the GT cars every 2 laps like you do at most sports. So at most sport you can't get out of the crowd. I mean, you're just in a crowd the entire time. So here you can spread out. Everybody can kind of calm down and settle into their own. And I mean, it was a pretty drama-free race from what I saw. So I mean, I don't know what you guys saw. I haven't been able to see yet, but from my perspective, it was absolutely professional from everyone.
Well, once again, congratulations. Fantastic race, and look forward to seeing you guys fight once again for the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, I like those 12-second wins better.
I am sure. So that was John Homer, who takes P1 here at Sebring International Raceway. Meanwhile, P1 over in the GTLMs was Jeffrey Ooms. He's going to be talking to Bill Zahn.
We got the mantra, the winner of the GTLM class. Congratulations on the win, Jeffrey. Let's go ahead and talk pit strategy. Was taking tires ever an option? Ever thought about?
It kind of was, but at the end of the second stint, I felt that I was still running pretty good times compared to what I was running at the start of the race. And I did have a big enough lead that I probably would have came out maybe 6 or 7 seconds behind, and I probably could have made it up. But I just didn't want to take a chance at all, and I figured that those guys probably wouldn't have. So if I just held par and just ran my race, then I probably would have just came out with the victory, which I did.
Looks like the fall off was about 1.5 seconds at the end, and that would be kind of hard to make that time up. How do you like Sebring? Is this a favorite of yours?
Not really, actually. Maybe at nighttime when it's a little cooler out, it's a lot more fun, but this was a super hot track and super greasy, and I almost lost it a few times there just by myself running around, kind of daydreaming, I guess, once in a while, and missed my break point here and there, but overall, it's on the top 10, I guess, but not my favorite for sure.
Okay, now you didn't race last time, but for the most part, there are some drop races in here. You had a third to open the season, so you'll be moving up the charts. What's your real-world schedule like? You going to be able to get in enough races without having to take a zero, you think, with taking into account drops?
Yeah, I think I should be able to. The only reason I missed it was Thanksgiving up here in Canada, and I would have had to rush home from my parents' house and probably would have missed the race by 10 or 15 minutes anyway, so just took the time with the parents on 2 weeks ago there, but yeah, for the rest of the season, we should be good to go here.
What's the meal like on Thanksgiving up there? Moose, beaver? What do they cook up?
Oh,
Beaver! Come on, man.
No, I don't know.
No, we just had a big ham, scalloped potatoes, salad, the whole works there. So it was pretty delicious.
All right. Well, congratulations on the holiday. Congratulations on the win today.
Right on. Thanks, Bill. We'll see you.
That was our winner in the GTLM class, and you were talking about irony there, Bill. The irony of the Canadian missing the Canadian race for Canadian Thanksgiving. So there's that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk to our winner in the GTD class. Sean has caught up with Bradley Haley's Comet,
or B-Rad. I don't know which one he'd rather take. I don't know how I follow up that one that Soup just had there, but Brad. What a race, man. All right, the first thing I got to ask you, of course, your class was the one affected by the changes today in iRacing. What was that all about, and what do you think?
It was pretty hard to figure out. You knew something had changed, but obviously it was with the tires, and but it was hard to tell what the actual change was. Obviously the tire wear was affected much more than previous, and it was interesting. It was a good tire test.
Well, you got a good tire test in, and you got it in clean, Brad. You win this race going away, man. It's never an easy drive at Sebring, but how did it really feel? I mean, did it feel easy, or was it just was the traffic more the challenge today?
Traffic was pretty good, actually. There was maybe a couple instances where we got a little close, but for the most part, everyone was plenty of room all the way around. After the first stop, from there on out, it was pretty much tiptoeing, getting on the gas super late, traction control at the max. I think I had 45% left of my rear tires, so it was It was pretty slick.
Indeed. Yeah. We already knew it was pretty greasy out there because of the track temps. Boy, that's quite a bit of fall off. Well, listen, you handled it like a beast, man, and you're running away with this points championship just 3 rounds into this season. Best of luck to you going forward.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks to everyone that raced. And sorry that we didn't have Jared here, Jason Gerard. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully he'll be back at the next race. But thanks, and again, thanks to my family, my sponsors for allowing me to race. Take care, guys.
All right, Brad. Hey, and again, congratulations. Go celebrate it, buddy. All right, that was Bradley Haley. Big win for him tonight here, Joe.
I'm sure. I have a feeling that he's probably already thinking a little bit about whether he can maybe get that championship trophy in his hands. In the meantime, we have third place finisher in the prototype, Cy Andre, who is caught up with Bill, and he's going to talk about the one that got away.
Sat on the pole. He led the first 2 laps, kept John Ulmer from going wire to wire. Cy, I think all in all, it's hard to finish third when you sit on the pole, but it was a pretty fun race for you.
It was a fun race, that's for sure. I'm just a little disappointed with my rookie error and losing 5 places on the first stint. But other than that, I think it was a good race. I think my strategy played out fairly well. I got those positions back. I think if I had a few more laps, I would have caught Tinsley as well.
Looking at my notes here, if I can read what I scribbled down here, I see it says you took tires. Am I right on that?
That's right.
Now, the other guys didn't. Ulmer and Tinsley, you took yours early. You like that, huh?
I liked it a lot, mainly because it helped me get past the other HPDs that were in front of me easier. With the tire advantage, I could easily jet off the corner or into the braking zones. It was a lot easier to make those passes, so I'd waste less time behind them. That was kind of the rationale behind my strategy. If I think I would have stayed in the top 3 battling with John and Tinsley, I don't think I would have taken tires either.
Got it. We talked to Ulmer about his win, and he was happy with the setup. He went with light downforce, with low downforce. You did not. Could you, when you were racing with him, did you kind of feel the difference between the 2 cars?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think you guys saw, I held it around the outside of turn 17, and that's not easy to do. And I don't think the only reason I could hold it was because of the downforce difference. Now, I guess down the straights he had an advantage, but I think personally, on a personal level, I felt that medium downforce is the way to go around here in this weather condition. I'm surprised. I would like to know what John's tires looked like at the end of that race.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Congratulations on the win. Good luck the rest of the way. Great to have you in the series. We'll be watching for you as the season goes on.
All right. Thank you very much.
Cy Andre, your third place finisher in the Prototypes pole sitter. Let's look for him to get a win before the season's over, Joe.
Indeed. We also have, I believe, 7th place finisher, Dino Topic, ready to talk to us, but also the highest Ferrari finisher, we should note. And he's got Sean.
Dino, I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts about this race and maybe even the update that went on today. Why don't you just go ahead and share them with us? I'm going to give you just a little bit of a form to run with here.
Well, throw the confetti in because I finished. That's a first one in the long run. But yeah, minimal practice, unfortunately. But today's update is just Brandon and I try to work some kind of magic. Billy helped us a little bit as well, but just nothing could work. We just couldn't get the car to go any faster. It was 2 seconds slower than pole, and that was the wall. I'm not sure what it could be. I don't know if they did a little bit too much with the updates. Tires did change. I'm not noticed. I can't really say about tires if they're better or worse. They felt okay.
Maybe I'm thinking everybody needs a little bit more practice with it. Maybe dial in a couple things with the setup that might get that Ferrari a little faster again. It was an interesting race. Lots going on out on the track. Lots of traffic to deal with. What's it like when you see those HPDs coming through the field? Do you ever get used to the closing rate of those and how you should react to that when you see it in your mirror?
It's a little different because now I'm the other end of where I used to be, because I used to drive the HPD. so it's a little different. Just the mentality, I guess. But I think I had one spot where I got a confused Carter in turn 1 because I was anticipating what he was going to do, which I shouldn't have. But I think it's okay. Everybody seems to be pretty okay with it, a few exceptions. I had one driver that would come in and stop at the apex, which you really shouldn't, because then you're just slowing both cars down instead of just following through or passing. But it's okay. Hopefully they will learn.
Well, Dino, it's always fun watching you get it around there, and it's a good race here at Sebring tonight. We'll see you next time, my friend.
For sure. Great cover, and see you next time.
All right, guys, that was Dino Topic, and it was a pretty solid race we saw today. Guys, I had a lot of fun. Thanks for bringing me on board tonight.
Well, thanks for stepping in for Sam, and we hope to have Sam back next week. And Sam, we miss you if you're watching. I hope you enjoyed that race. Sorry you couldn't get to call one where we weren't scrambling everywhere at every second. And with that, we're going to close up, of course, and we want to thank the Autobahn Motorcar Group for sponsoring this series. And, of course, thanks to John Ulmer and his team of people that help him run this league behind the scenes. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Also, additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Bill, Sean, Amjed, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter. We're at GSR Channel. Or Facebook, it's just /Global Sim Racing Channel. We love hearing from people on social media. Next race, we're going to another track with a lot of long straights. Hopefully that'll also help with the interclass traffic. That'll be Road America on Monday, November 6th at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.